Good morning and welcome to Northern Lights Spiritual Center in our temporary abode. Northern Lights Spiritual Center is a community of people dedicated to using spiritual and practical principles to create lives we want to live. Northern Lights Spiritual Center offers practical and spiritual tools to make positive changes in our lives. So, we acknowledge our presence here on the traditional and unceded lands of the first people of Seattle, the Duwamish and coastal Salish peoples. These people are still here, and we join with them in how they continue to honor and bring to light their ancient heritage. We seek to resist the erasure of Indigenous histories as we work towards honoring and inviting the truth. We also acknowledge that so much of what we know in this country today, including our culture, economic growth, and development, throughout history and across time, has been made possible by the labor of enslaved Africans and their descendants who suffered the horrors of transatlantic trafficking of their people, chattel slavery, and Jim Crow. We also name the Asian and Chicano people who toiled with little recognition. We are indebted to their sacrifice and labor, and we acknowledge the tremors that violence throughout the generations and resulting impacts that can still be felt and witnessed today. So now we have in this very room.
A cappella we have in this very room.
That's good.
So we can do that. I just need to find myself what the words are.
Well, here, I can do it right there.
Oh, I got it. So we're good.
So this is for,
Great for them too.
yeah.
Shall we go?
Yeah.
All right, please join me. In this very room, there's quite enough love for all the world. And in this very room, there's quite enough joy for all the world. And there's quite enough peace and quite enough power to walk through our every fear. For Spirit, sweet Spirit, is in this very room.
So we're at the meditation. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to invite people to kind of just settle in to wherever you're sitting, or if you're standing, or however you are. And as you settle in, just start to pay attention to the support. The support of a chair under you or a piece of furniture. Support of the floor upholding you. And allow ourselves to just become aware of our breath. Become aware of the rise of the breath as we breathe in. And we may notice in our abdomens. We may notice it in our chests. Wherever we sense this rise of our breath, just let our attention go there. And as we breathe out, imagine that we are letting go of whatever no longer serves us. So we breathe in. And as we breathe in, our heart rate slightly increases. And as we breathe out, our heart rates slightly decrease. So with every breath in and out, there's this rhythm, an increase of the heart and a decrease of the heart rate as we breathe out. And with this consideration of the breath coming in and this breath going out, let our attention turn to all that comes to us that contributes to our sense of safety, to our sense of belonging. So perhaps as we breathe in, we can consider having had enough to eat. We can consider if our way of starting the day is a little jolt of caffeine that helps get us energized, that helps us fit into our day. Consider all of the routines that we've established. Just allow ourselves to appreciate that sense of security that comes with those routines. That sense of safety that those routines establish. And again, with our breath coming in and out. Our bodies know how to keep us safe. Our bodies know what it is that we need. None of us have to tell our hearts, this is what to do in order to beat. None of us have to inform our lungs what it is to take in air. And with those routines that we've established, we have made those as automatic as our breath. So just be aware of whatever feelings arise with our daily practices. if they're habits that we formulated and it took us some work, maybe we can congratulate ourselves, have a sense of revelation at our capacities to learn, at our capacities to expand, at our capacities to grow. Maybe there are some routines that we'd like to let go of. Maybe there are things that served us once that no longer serve us. Rather than looking at those with criticism and saying, oh, I wish I didn't do that, what if we were to say, I'm so grateful that that has served me? And I'm so grateful that I know that I no longer need it. With a sense of gentle, loving kindness, just embrace all that we do so automatically. Embrace our beating hearts. Embrace the blood flow through the whole body. Embrace all of the systems that know exactly what to do. And even if there's parts of our bodies that aren't working the way that they worked before, what if we just give thanks for all the work that they've done up till now? What if we just rest in a sense of gratitude? I would propose that gratitude opens a space of safety and belonging. So in that space of gentle, loving kindness, allow yourself to come present back to the room, to become present to your breath, to become present to this day. You might want to wiggle your fingers and toes. You might want to stretch a little bit. And I say, Amen,
Amen.
Ashe,
Ashe.
and so it is.
And so it is.
Declaration, yes. I am looking for where to share.
Right there. Oh, double click. Yeah. Okay. Slideshow.
Okay, we have our declaration. Thank you for your patience with my lack of familiarity with the technicalities of doing this. Mykal doesn't, so I don't even think about it. Our declaration, I'm going to say it once, and you're welcome to say it with me if you can see it. And then I'm going to say it 2 more times, so we have it a total of 3 times. We are an expanding and loving community, working in a field of infinite potential. Number 2, we are an expanding and loving community, working in a field of infinite potential. And the last time, and really feel it. We are an expanding and loving community, working in a field of infinite potential. And so it is. So today's talk comes from a blog by Andy. Andy didn't have a last name in the blog article, so I'm just going to give it credit to Andy. So there's a person named Tayson Deshimaru who says, "We feel our shells keep us safe, but they crush us and others and keep out the light and sunshine. Feeling safe and secure is essential for being able to live a full, high-quality life where we feel comfortable and sheltered from the harshness of the world. When we feel safe and secure, we can relax, focus, and be productive. Creativity flourishes. Our minds are free to explore and create new ideas. When we feel safe, we become more mindful. We're enjoying all the pleasures in the present moment that are happening. Feeling safe and secure is an important part of being happy and healthy. When we feel safe, we can enjoy life and all its beauty. We can explore our world and have fun. Safety gives us peace of mind and an optimistic mindset." Now, how do we feel safe and secure? Here are 11 possible strategies. When we're in the midst of an upsetting situation, what if we could simply make a decision that nothing bad is going to happen? We may not believe this right away, but we can truly let ourselves feel safe and create a positive self-fulfilling prophecy. So try this. Close your eyes, inhale deeply in a slow, methodical manner, and exhale it out through your mouth, completely at ease. Repeat at least 5 times. Just by taking care of ourselves this way, we are already letting go of what may be causing our fear. We can think about what makes us feel safe and secure. We can envision ourselves at ease, where our bodies are loose and we radiate a smile. Number 2, when we feel the need to protect ourselves and the different parts of our life, it's good to know how to assess the level of threat. We need to make sure that our perceptions match reality. What is the actual risk? If we give in to fear and take the reactionary measures that are not based on any objective assessment, we could end up making things worse for ourselves. The best way to address risk is by seeking information and putting that information into context to decide how best to act. 3, it's important to be aware of the risks we face. And it's easy to blow things out of proportion. We can overestimate our chances of being involved in accidents or crime and underestimate our abilities to cope. Placing too much focus on what could go wrong, we can become paralyzed with fear and lose sight of what really needs to be done to remain safe and secure. This is one Mykal would say: journal your fears on a piece of paper. As you write each fear down, think of why you have this fear. What does it mean? Is it rational? What would you tell a friend with the same fear? In many cases, fears are irrational or exaggerated. They can be based on assumptions that something bad will happen, even when there's no proof that it will. When we speak to our fears, they become smaller and less powerful than before we acknowledge them. And of course, you knew you would hear this one. Positive affirmations can help us feel secure and safe. They can be any statement that's repeated, intending to create change. Because this process is often done in our heads, it's difficult to tell if those affirmations are effective. One way to determine if they're working is to test positive affirmations by simply saying something out loud. If you repeat the positive affirmation, it's likely that you'll believe it on some level. Some examples: I am strong. Everything is going my way. I have what I need. We can create our own positive affirmations to fit our needs. It's best to keep them simple and specific. Think about the situation where we feel unsafe or insecure and then repeat the affirmation aloud 5 times. Repeat this until we no longer feel unsafe. Then move on to another example of feeling unsafe. Number 6, visualize calming scenes amid the inner turmoil. As a human being, we're wired to react to our environments. So if we're constantly in chaos, it's going to be hard not to feel like a victim to that chaos. But there is something we can do. When the situations seem overwhelming, visualize a place or scenario that makes us feel safe. By our thoughts drifting towards a safe place, we can calm ourselves down. The more we practice this calming technique, the easier it becomes. Number 7, it's common when people feel unsafe and stressed and expecting discomfort that something negative is going to happen. But most times, that insecurity can be eased by finding people who are trustworthy and supportive. So find people who help you feel safe and secure. You might join an organization that shares your values. You don't have to become directly involved in a movement, but just venture outside every once in a while. Find someone you trust. Also, the inverse of that, the opposite side of the coin, limit your time with toxic people who contribute to your sense of uneasiness. Whether it's that relationship that's draining your energy, the coworker who's spreading gossip, sometimes you need to take a step back from a situation. We live in a time when there are many real and frightening threats. There are also sources of stress. So, we can try to limit our exposure. One way is by limiting the time we spend checking news sites, limiting exposure to violent films, TV shows, video games. Instead of letting ourselves get trapped in endless cycles of outrage about everything wrong, lift your head out of the water for a second and focus on something else. Feeling safe is an important way to have a fulfilling life. So, here are some healthy choices. Sleep, enough of it. Diet, eat healthier foods. Exercise. Regular exercise reduces stress and anxiety, improves sleep and memory, and boosts self-esteem. Meditation. Practicing meditation can help reduce anxiety, stress, depression, and pain by increasing focus on the present moment while reducing negative thoughts about the past or present. 10, we're in the home stretch. Look for relaxing diversions. If you're feeling stressed, it may be tempting to try to tough it out and tough it through your feelings. But sometimes the best thing you can do is to simply take a break. When you're feeling overwhelmed, even a short walk can help you clear your head. Other healthy diversions include reading an all-engrossing book, listening to relaxing music, taking a warm bath or shower, watching a funny movie or video clip. And one of the best ways to feel safe is to spend some time in healthy solitude. Healthy solitude means spending some time alone with your thoughts, but not letting them turn negative. Instead of thinking about how much better everyone is at something than you are, or how much more successful they are than you, turn your thoughts around by telling yourself that everyone has things they struggle with, just like you. Spending time in healthy solitude will help keep your inner critic at bay, so that when it comes time to tackle a project or obstacle, you're ready for whatever comes next, feeling safe in the process. And so it is.
Good morning. We have an international musical guest. I can say that because they now live in Mexico, so I can say they're international. And so he's going to perform. Oh wait, I have to do something here. Let's get rid of to make sure. Ah, there we go. Okay, let's do this. Okay. So this is David Duvall performing Both Sides Now.
I'm going to talk for just a second.
Okay, then you can turn it over.
What I have to do? What?
Just use the mouse to hit your
Oh, I will do that.
the go button.
Yeah. So I wasn't sure exactly what to sing while we were back up visiting for this church today. Hi, everyone. There I am. I am on the screen. But Mykal said that April, the theme for April is vulnerability. And so I reached for the most vulnerable song I have in my repertoire. And when I was in high school, all the girls wanted to sing this song, which was intriguing because even at the time I thought, what? How can you possibly make sense out of that at the age of 16? But at the age of 60-something, the words mean something quite different now. And I recorded it on my latest CD, which I handed Mykal a copy of when we walked in this morning. So you can find it on YouTube too later if you want. But I encourage you to listen to these words and think about all the things that Joni, all the thoughts Joni put down for us.
Thank you, David. Now I'm going to change this a little bit here. Let's try that. There we go. So here we are, already into April. I'm glad it's not April Fool's. I got caught by a couple of those yesterday on Facebook, but I did not get caught by the third one. As time goes on, we get smarter. Kind of like I think in that song, you know, like David said, back in the day, maybe didn't really understand it, but it makes a whole lot of different sense nowadays. And that's with a lot of things in life, you know. As we mature, things look different. And we understand sometimes what our parents might have been saying at the time when we thought they were being mean or
Stupid.
or David said stupid. You know, when you're a teenager, you know, I think we all thought, you know, they're a little out of whack. But then I'm finding myself, in some ways, you know, using the same verbiage to say, you know, like I've turned into my mother anyway. So today is, as Vaughn said, or David said too, that the theme for the month is the power of vulnerability. But today being Palm Sunday, I wanted to throw a little bit out there about Palm Sunday because we in religious science pride ourselves on honoring, you know, all religions. And I believe that all religions have something good for whoever, you know. It may not be good for me, but it may be good for someone else. Like when Reverend Vaughn's mother would come out, she's Catholic, very Catholic. And so I found this church that I could take her to so she would not miss her Friday night mass. And that, you know, that was fine. You know, that is part of who she was. And so by honoring other religions, sometimes we don't necessarily honor some of the Christian ones. I think because so many people they've been hurt or whatever, we don't want to tread on delicate subjects. But today is Palm Sunday, and it's the first day of the Holy Week, which culminates in Easter next Sunday. And Palm Sunday recalls an event in the Christian scripture in the New Testament of Jesus riding into Jerusalem on a donkey. And riding in on a donkey was to show his humility and wanted something simple. And the donkey also represents gentleness. Many people, along the route remembered the miracles, so they put down their cloaks and palm branches, hence Palm Sunday, to honor him. And they shouted Hosanna. But it's really interesting what a week can do, because we all know what happens in the following days, according to the story, on Maundy, Thursday, Good Friday, and then Easter Sunday. Sometimes people can turn on us on a dime. One thing I want to talk about today too is vulnerability, but about creating safe spaces. When we embark on a new adventure, it is important to know where we are and where we are going. And vulnerability becomes a crucial starting point for authenticity and connection. Because when we open ourselves up, when we step out into something new, like a new adventure, a new project, a new relationship, whatever it may be, whenever it's new, we are in that point of opening up to being vulnerable. And that can be scary. Because vulnerability, you're opening yourself up. And to the extent that we begin to foster this in ourselves, we can begin to invite others to do the same. If we are vulnerable and open ourselves up, then like it allows others to have that freedom to open up. I personally like small groups. When we were at the Center for Spiritual Living, they would have these connection circles, and I would love those. I would lead them, and I love it because it's a small and safe and comfortable group. Some people feel, they love being in a large crowd. Me, not so much. It depends on the crowd. It depends on what the event is. So Ernest Holmes wrote, every one of us has in back of us the potential of the universe. There is an irresistible potential pressing against everyone for self-expression. If we listen, we shall hear, not as a voice, but as a feeling, as a divine urge to express. So that saying that God has our back, the universe has our back, there's something greater out there that has our back. And that it's nudging us along to express ourselves, to be that divine creature that you came here to be. A lot of times we are not willing, well, not necessarily willing, but we're not comfortable being who we are. Because will we be accepted? Will we be criticized? Will we be judged? Well, that's going to happen anywhere. But if we stand in that fear of being judged and criticized and not accepted, we're never going to get anywhere. Vulnerability is not a weakness. Just like fear is not always negative. It is about showing up and being seen. We all want to be seen. I know one of my traits is being invisible. But we all, at one time or another, have that desire to be seen. Even in the face of fear and shame. The call is to begin to examine areas in our lives where we have been resistant for whatever reason to be vulnerable. And I think we are resistant and because of fear, because of that fear of being not accepted. When we're vulnerable, we also seek a place of safety. A place that is free of bias, conflict, criticism, or potential threatening actions, ideas, and conversations. A safe space is also a belief that one will be not punished that there would be no punishment for speaking up with ideas, questions, concerns, or mistakes, and that the team is safe for interpersonal risk-taking. I mean, if nobody ever spoke up with their ideas, think of all the inventions that there would not be, you know. I know one thing, when I was at Boeing many years ago, we had this it wasn't a project, it was a, what do you call those things? Anyway, it was where we went in, and as teams, everybody was able to speak, you know, to the topic without judgment or criticism. That was part of the ground rules, that you speak and you listen to others' ideas. Sometimes ideas are, you know, they're just whacked. I remember I got criticized one time in ministerial school by this teacher, which I had some respect for, about being fair. And she said, "Oh, you're about being fair." And this was in the conversation about listening to people. And I realized that sometimes you can listen to people, but you can't put all their ideas into action. I mean, it's just not possible. But I believe that you need to be fair to the person and allow them to speak their idea, to speak it out, and then and be polite about it. You know, say, well, right now we can't do this, or whatever. We'll talk about it later, or something that's not judgmental or criticized. You know, because the old saying about getting more people with honey than vinegar, it works in so many different ways. So if we allow people to speak in a place that is safe, that we are allowed to speak, and in these connection circles, to me, they were some of the safest spaces that I've ever been in. And Ernest Holmes, in The Science of Mind, wrote this: I draw around me a circle of love and protection. No harm can enter nor find place within the charmed circle of life and love. For it represents God's loving care and the eternal watchfulness. I will rest within me now, and I will speak comfort to my soul, and tell it of all the wonders of its life, safe from the din of strife and fear. I am protected from on high. And one of my goals in ministerial school and in life in general is to create like we had this. Now we're in a transition mode, but the center of being a safe place for everyone to walk in the doors, where everyone is welcome, where everyone is seen, and everyone is heard. This community of connectedness. I mean, I think we all would cherish a place where we could go and we could be seen, we could be heard. And if you didn't want to be seen, you could shift into invisibility like I do sometimes. But you have this opportunity in life to be recognized. And it's a community where all who enter, whether it is for one time or for repeated times, to feel safe. And it's not just safe in the physical form, but it's safe physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. Any way you can think of, a place that is safe. Sometimes, I know some churches say, well, welcome home. Well, for some people, home was not a happy, safe place. I know. So I don't believe we say that. I don't ever remember saying that. I mean, you can make this your home if you choose to. But there are trigger words for people. And home for some people can be a trigger word. And so in creating safe spaces, we need to be conscientious on how we do it. The adventure of life is gaining clarity and awareness of our connection with Spirit as we move through this adventure of life from day one to the end. It's gaining that clarity and awareness, that connection with the divine, and how this connection fuels our connection and our authenticity with others and others with us. Brene Brown speaks on vulnerability as vulnerability is a state of emotional exposure that comes with a certain degree of uncertainty. It involves a person's willingness to accept the emotional risk that comes from being open and willing to love and to be loved. I mean, that statement kind of says it all, because you're opening yourself up, and you have that willingness to be seen, to be heard, even if there might be a little emotional triggers that come up. Because a lot of times we have baggage. Some of us have sea trunks, and others of us have just a carry-on bag. But we all have some sort of baggage or other in life. And when we are in these groups or with connecting with people, sometimes they'll say something, and sometimes their intention isn't to hurt, to be mean or cruel, but the impact that is taken by the person who's triggered is totally different than what they intended. So sometimes we have to be open and be willing to have the little things triggered. So in essence, we can work on those when we recognize these triggers. That's the key thing. That's the key thing in life. When we recognize anything, then we become more aware of it and we can do something about it. When creating a space that is safe for all who want to become a part of your group, your center, your clique, whatever it may be, make sure that you do some of these things. I'm going to list a few things. And one thing is to choose the space carefully. Because sometimes if you choose a space that is not your space, be careful what might be on the walls. The surroundings of the inner space, because that can trigger a lot of people, and that can drive a lot of people away. And then the next thing is what I said before, is listen. If you want people to join your group, to be part of it, you need to discuss with them if they're interested and listen to their concerns about it. The purpose is not necessarily to talk and to help, but to listen. And I believe in life, if the world did a little more listening instead of shouting and screaming and whatever goes on, this world would be a much better place. I know in practitioner training we were taught, the biggest thing is to listen. To listen without jumping to conclusions. Like when somebody comes to you with a problem or with a concern or whatever, don't start fixing it before they're done talking. That's what happens so many times is as we tend to think they're coming to us to be fixed. And maybe that's true in some cases, but most cases, they just need to be heard. How many times do you feel much better when you've got something on your, weighing heavy on you, and you find somebody that is willing to listen to you? And so many times, they don't have to say a word, but with you expressing that, with you, spewing it out of your body, however you can do it, there's such a relief there. I find that. I'll ask questions sometimes of people, mostly Reverend Vaughn, and just by spilling it out, the answer comes. I don't need an answer from an outside source because I know the answer. And we all have our own answers. It's just sometimes we need somebody just there to listen. So be willing to listen to these people. Make your group inclusive. Make sure that the group is inclusive and diverse in terms of gender, age, race, religion, political views, sexual identity, sexual orientation, and whatever else is important for people in the room. So that a wide range of perceptions can be shared and acknowledged. I think the world would be a very boring place if everyone thought exactly the same way, had the same feelings, because there would be nothing new. I know that I remember one conversation when we were at the center. On one day I was there during the week, I had this woman come in, and she was a Muslim woman, and I had because I don't know that much about the Muslim religion, and I had a fantastic conversation with her, and it just kind of blew me away because I had questions and she had questions, and it was this interchange of knowledge, and it was great. I learned and she learned, and it was like I've never seen her again. But that point in time, she was supposed to be in my life. A single member of a minority group may not feel safe. So it's always good to have more than one, in whatever ratio you have, because that way that person does not feel that they have to feel isolated or speak for the whole group. I've heard that sometimes that when they're in this group of different kind of workshops or whatever, they will call on, say it's about diversity, and it's about say the African Americans, and so you pick out one African American and make them do the talking. Why? Why do we, if they want to, that's fine. But why force them to be speaking for the whole group of people? And then actions speak louder than words. And that's true in life all over the place. Saying that a space is safe doesn't make it so. Saying about the truth about anything does not necessarily make it so. What has your organization done to create safety? What has your group done to create safety? Has it made efforts to include and listen to others' voices, to listen to minorities' voices? If not, the space may not be safe for everyone. Creating a safe space takes work, and creating a safe space takes practice. Spit that out. And then there's, I said before, too, something about ground rules. I think when you're in a gathering, and whether it's a small group or a large group, you need some kind of ground rules, some basic guidelines to follow. And everyone, should be in agreement with it, because that way it makes, we don't, because sometimes, how do we say it? We get going on a thought, and certain things come out that we did not, like I said, we did not intend them for, to speak that way. To be mindful of what comes out of our mouths, because the old saying is, once it comes out, there's no rolling it back. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's many times in my life I wish I had a rewind button for my mouth, but that isn't the case. Then what can we do? We can apologize. We can have a conversation of where that came from. because sometimes we need to talk too. It's not just others. It's everyone needs to be able to share in these spaces. Stephen Russell said about vulnerability that vulnerability is the only authentic state. Being vulnerable means being open for wounding, but also for pleasure. Being open to the wounds of life, that mean also being open to the bounty and the beauty. Because if we're not willing to be vulnerable, to be open, because of the fear of the negative stuff, we're also not allowing the positive to come in. Because there is positive stuff in this world. I mean, this world is it's a crazy place, but it's all we've got, and we can make it better. All that's going on right now is it's a little chaotic. But if we can try to be vulnerable in the smaller spaces, then that's going to ripple out, just like anything, just like love, just like peace, just like joy, anything like that we create in the smallness ripples out and spreads out throughout the universe. It's like the wings of the butterfly. You know, they're flapping here and they're felt thousands of miles away. You're sending a message, by being vulnerable, you're sending a message that it's acceptable to be yourself. That is a huge thing. Because so many people are afraid to be themselves. And there's actually justifiable reasons. This fosters deeper engagement, trust, and connection. If we dig a little deeper, a psychologically safe environment allows people to be their true selves. If we feel safe, then we're going to be more open about who we are and express themselves in a way aligned with their identity, whether it be racial identity, nationality identity, sexual or gender identity, whatever the identity may be, without fear of reprisal or impact from others. A lot of times this is impact in employment, impact in I'd say family, actually, even. Families can be cruel. Families can be, families they're just people, you know? People that we are connected to and that we, most of the time, love them no matter what. So, people can show up as their true selves and feel like they're respected and valued and heard, even if they may not fully understand each other. Now, we don't have to totally understand people to respect somebody else. Understanding is a good thing, you know. I like that little quote. I don't know where it came from or if I made it up. Peace, love, and understanding. If we could be a little more understanding of each other. Because we don't know what that person has gone through before we met them. Like say you met them in a store or met them somewhere. You don't know what happened the hour before or their whole life. I know attitudes, when I was in Vietnam, I've shared this before, we had a lot of Vietnamese sailors on our part of our base. And they would get in the chow line, the lunch line, like 9 o'clock in the morning. And so we, U.S. Navy personnel, would end up way at the back of the line. And so a lot of hard feelings and regrets. And so finally they did the smart thing. They put a door on each side, and so we alternated. But that's not the point. It was that after I was there for a while and I saw how they lived, how they were, I had this, to me it was an aha, is what would I be like if all I knew from birth was war? What would my attitude be? How would I act? And it changed my whole outlook over there. And some of the safest spaces that I originally felt, it took me a long time. It takes me a long time to get comfortable with people because I've been burned a few times, and I think how I learned this to be more open and at ease was through AA meetings. The general meetings were fine, but then when we started doing the step studies, where it's a much smaller group, and you're allowed to open up, and you need to open up. I mean, to me, I had to open up and share these good, bad, and ugly things if I wanted to stay sober, if I wanted to heal. And sometimes that's what we need. We need a safe space, like we have practitioners, we have ministers that will sit with you, that will listen without judgment, without, and not willing to fix, not having to fix, but just be there, to be that sounding board. Like I said before, I think the greatest thing is when I ask the question, and before the question's out of my mouth, I have the answer. It's like this little bird zips in, I never realized that many years ago that I have the answers. We each have the answers. Sometimes we just need a little nudging, a little prodding, a little suggestion. And we also need to become our individual safe space. Like Reverend Vaughn said in I think it was a reading about, being in the solitude, being with ourselves. I know years and years ago, when I lived alone, I always had to have some sort of sound going, TV, music, or whatever. And then one day, I was doing something, and all of a sudden I realized it was quiet. I didn't need that constant whatever. I could commune with myself, and that's what we have to make our own place safe, and allow others to step into that space. For we can declare ourselves a safe space, because so many people don't feel safe for many reasons. And that's not right. That's not good. We all have that divine right to be who we are here and now, without hurting anyone else. That's the key thing, to be ourselves without hurting others. And so this week, I just invite you to practice being that safe space. When others come up, be willing to listen. Be willing to share. Either way, it goes, it's a reciprocal universe. Just like the giving and the receiving. If you're not a gracious giver, you cannot be a gracious, if you're not a gracious receiver, you can't be a gracious giver. Because it's a give and take. And so just practice that this week. I know you can, I know you will. And now we have so I can find, all right, here we go. So, okay, an affirmation. I'll read it through once. Stepping it up.
Yes.
I hope so. I bring my own unique expression to life and create a safe space for others to do the same. I bring my own unique expression to life and create a safe space for others to do the same. And one more time, take it in and feel it. I bring my own unique expression to life and create a safe space for others to do the same. And so it is. And now we shall have another song here. If I gotta find it here. Let's see. No, that's not what we do with that one. Hold on. It's coming.
That's okay.
Ah, that's the. What's your message again? Never pass.
Never passed. Yeah.
Ah.
Maybe I'm going to say a couple things.
Oh. Hold it. Nothing won't get on there. I'll take that back. Come on, go back there. Yeah. Okay. Sorry about that.
I'll hit it in there.
Okay. All right.
All right.
David will.
Thank you, Michael. This is a very, very, very new song. It hasn't even been a month old yet. And if you like, after the service is over, I'll tell the creation story because it's kind of a fun story. But in the heading of creating a safe space, this is something that I wrote recently, theoretically to a very lovely, probably 5-month-old child that I passed on the street.
Oh.
I'll tell the rest of the story later. This is the foundations of the track. I'm trying to finish up one last CD, and I got most of it done this week. This one we just have the piano, bass, and drums on yet, but we'll put the clarinets and trombone on later. But I hope you enjoy. I gotta read some of it because I still don't know it all that well. I look at you there with that precious face, brand new to the world, drinking in life with such grace, sensing yourself unfurled. I feel that I ought to tell you, this all goes by surprisingly fast. So let me proffer some time learned insights to how to make this sense of joy last. Never pass up a hug. Be your own biggest fan. Whenever you mean it, say I love you as often as you can. Fill each day up with laughter. Remember you are always loved. Exchanging styles will always be in style. And never ever pass up a hug. Everyone that you ever see is fragile inside. Give them space to simply be. Friendships will form in time. You'll find that nobody's perfect, so don't you waste time trying to be. These are just things I've worked out over time. I hope you'll learn them quicker than me. Never pass up a hug. Be your own biggest fan. Whenever you mean it, say I love you as often as you can. Fill each day up with laughter. And remember you are always loved. Exchanging smiles will always be in style. And never ever pass up a hug. Never ever pass up a hug. Never ever pass up a hug.
great song.
Thank you.
I really like that. That's okay. Let's see. I got a couple. What did I do with my couple of announcements? Next Sunday, we won't be here. Reverend Pamela will be doing the service, and also at 6 a.m., bright and early, and chipper, and nippy maybe. You can go to Seward Park on Lake Washington for sunrise meditation. Phyllis will be there. Right, Phyllis? And if you need the address, I sent the address out, but if you need it, I can, or Phyllis can give it to you. And then we have 5 Sundays this month, so that means the 5th Sunday is Practitioner Sunday, and Stephanie will be doing the talk. And let's see, if anybody cares to contribute, you can go to our website, or you can mail it. There's a mailing address in there too. Either way, there's PayPal or mail. So let's see, do I have anything else? Do you have anything, Reverend Vaughn?
No.
We'll miss you next Sunday, but we'll be in Washington D.C. For vacation, that is.
Oh.
Not for any other reasons. Yes. And so now everybody knows to stay on after the talk to comment, and David can explain coming up with the song.
I can share the creation story, sure.
Okay. So
And Reverend Mykal,
Yes.
birthdays for this month.
April birthdays.
Yeah, we have
Oh.
Victor.
Okay.
Yay!
Anybody else? Nope. Happy birthday, Victor. Should we sing?
Sure.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Victor. Happy birthday to you. You got to remember that. Try to do that on the first Sundays of the month to try to get consistent with it, So it's a good thing we have other people to remind. Vaughn, I'm going to turn the thing off. Camera. Oh. So as we leave.